Nobody does it better covering the New York Post with when it comes to baseball. And reached out this morning, and Ken got back to me and said, baseball, we're 3 weeks away. But quickly getting there again. Here we go, right? Pitchers and catchers in 3 weeks. We are the home of New York Yankee baseball here on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. A lot of Met fans in the area as well. There's a few Boston Red Sox fans I know out there. And it kind of breaks up what we've got going on. We got 2 weeks to hype Super Bowl 51. Ken Davidoff, thanks for a few minutes here on Big Board Sports.
Roger, I take a bullet for you, so this is nothing.
I appreciate that, Ken. Am I interrupting a vacation, or are you get some time off here?
No, I wrote yesterday. I thought that's why you reached out to me. I wrote a story about Jay Bruce and the Mets.
Yeah, well, listen, I reached out because I want to get some headlines going on here for both these teams with pitchers and catchers reporting next week. If you were to give me a couple of headlines right away from a Yankee fan, what they're going to be talking about in 3 weeks at spring training, what would they be?
Well, I think for the Yankees, it's really the kids. It's Gary Sanchez, it's Aaron Judge, it's Tyler Austin, Clint Frazier, Gleyber Torres, and James Kaprielian. And I don't know. There aren't many injury issues with the Yankees. It's just a matter of how are these kids going to look in spring training, and what is the Yankees' opening day lineup going to be based on the way they perform in spring training.
I'm anxious to see Gary Sanchez, who had such a big splash last year, what kind of season he will have when he's there start to finish.
Hello?
Do you have any idea how he'll perform whole body of work next year, being there from day one?
Oh, of course, I don't know, Roger. No one knows, but I think Gary Sanchez is a legitimate candidate to be an all-star. And obviously, he was on a pace last year to hit about 60 home runs, I think. Yep. I don't anticipate that. But I think 30 is realistic and would be incredible for a good defensive catcher to hit 30 home runs. It would put him at the very top of the game at his position. So I think he has that kind of potential.
Ken, what kind of season do you think this Yankee team will have? I mean, could this be? I know they're building for the future, and they're talking about 2018. They got a lot of young guys, and they've stayed the course with that philosophy, and I don't disagree with it. I like the direction the Yankees have gone with this team. But from everyone wants to talk about how good they're going to be in the upcoming season. What should the fan expectation be for this Yankee team?
Well, Roger, I think for probably, the third year in a row, if not the fourth, probably the third, a losing record is a real possibility based on the way they put together the team. They're not all in, clearly. I mean, and again, I don't disagree with that, as you just said. But yeah, this team, when you put together a team like this, with so many young players and so much variability, the worst-case scenarios are pretty low. I mean, if we're talking on October 4th, and this team went 75 and 87. That wouldn't surprise me. I do think there's an outside chance that they can, all these parts can click, and they can be in the mix for the wild card and even the division.
Ken, Brian Mariano in with Roger this morning. Now we go from the team currently to a name that was thrown around as the Hall of Fame votes were cast. One name not on there a lot was Jorge Posada, only getting 3.8% of the vote. Your reaction to that, are you surprised by that?
I'm not surprised, Brian, just because there's so much gridlock on that ballot, and there's so many good players, many of them hanging around. We know why, because of the illegal PED suspicions, if you will, the cloud. So it was hard for Jorge Posada to get in there. Look, I covered Jorge Posada for his entire career. I think he certainly deserves Hall of Fame consideration, but I did not vote for him because I had 10 guys, more than 10 guys ranked above him.
Where do you stand on Bonds and Clemens, Ken?
I'm very pro Bonds and Clemens. I voted for them every year. I think the Hall of Fame, at its essence, is a museum. I think prior to the steroids era, that integrity character clause was never even regarded as anything but something to be ignored. And I think it's historically inconsistent to keep guys out when that wasn't the case earlier in the game's history for far greater scandals.
I agree with you, and by just looking at the way the votes have been trending, it looks like it's heading in that direction, that Bonds and Clemens will get in.
Yeah, and they've been on the ballot for 5 years now. They finally passed the 50% mark after 5 years, so they have 5 years left. And given the way they're trending, given that most new voters appear favorable to their candidacies, I like their chances.
We're talking with Ken Davidoff, New York Post columnist, Major League Baseball spring training pitchers and catchers in 3 weeks. We just had the new inductees announced going into the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown at the end of July. All right, let me segue over to the Mets here a little bit. Your thoughts and maybe what will be the headlines going to Port St. Lucie in 3 weeks for the New York Mets?
Health, health, health. The starting pitchers, 4 of them coming off surgery. Neil Walker coming off back surgery. Asdrubal Cabrera had knee problems at the end of last year. David Wright coming off neck surgery. Health will be the story every single day in Mets camp.
And if healthy, and it's always a big if, I mean, I have no idea, so I won't even ask you that question. Are they going to be able to stay healthy? Who knows? If they do, this should be a Mets team, right? That is a win-now team, win the NL East, make a run in the postseason, and get to the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with getting to the postseason. From there, it's essentially a crapshoot. But for sure, if healthy, this team should qualify for the postseason.
And one other question, just to round out our regional teams of interest, Ken. In the American League, how good should Boston be this year?
Yeah, the Red Sox should be very good. Adding Chris Sale was big, and they, of course, they lose David Ortiz to retirement. So they're an interesting team to me. Perhaps top heavy in their roster. I look at third base and I wonder. I look at the back of their starting rotation and I wonder. But I think it's fair to say, as of now, they're the favorites to win the American League East.
No doubt about that. Ken Davidoff, New York Post columnist, baseball, spring training 3 weeks away. We appreciate a few minutes here on Big Board Sports. We are the home of the Yankees here in Albany.
Okay, Roger.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. Ken Davidoff.